Emma Carter's life had always moved in the same quiet rhythm, like a clock that never stopped ticking. Every morning before the sun rose, she woke up in her small rented room above an old grocery store. The ceiling had cracks, the heater barely worked, and the window let cold air slip inside during winter, but she never complained. She believed that as long as she had a job, she could survive anything. For 9 years, she worked as a waitress at a busy roadside restaurant called Golden Plate Diner, a place filled with the smell of coffee, fried eggs, and constant noise. Customers came and went every day, but Emma remained the same, polite, hardworking, and invisible. She was known as the most reliable employee in the diner. Even when heavy rain flooded the streets, Emma arrived early. When she had a fever, she swallowed medicine and continued serving tables with a smile. Holidays meant nothing to her. While others celebrated with family, she carried trays between crowded tables. The owner, Mr. Harris, often praised her dedication in front of customers, saying, "If everyone worked like Emma, this place would run perfectly." But praise never turned into better pay or kindness. Emma earned just enough to pay rent and buy simple groceries. Still, she stayed because she feared starting over. Emma's life had not always been lonely. Years ago, she had dreams of studying baking and opening her own small cafe. But after her parents died in a sudden car accident, those dreams slowly disappeared. Bills replaced ambitions and survival became her only goal. The diner became her safe place, not because it was kind but because it was familiar. One cold Monday morning, everything began like any other day. Emma tied her apron, greeted regular customers, and poured coffee while soft music played in the background. Outside, winter clouds covered the sky, making the day feel heavier than usual. Around noon, her phone vibrated in her pocket. She normally never checked her phone during work, but something inside her told her this call was important. It was from the hospital. Her hands trembled as she answered. A nurse explained that Mrs. Delgado, her elderly neighbor and the only person who had cared for her after her parents died, had collapsed and was in serious condition. Emma felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. Mrs. Delgado was like family, the woman who had brought her soup when she was sick and celebrated her birthdays when no one else remembered. Emma walked toward the kitchen, her heart beating fast. She rarely asked for anything, but today she needed help. She approached Mr. Harris carefully and explained the situation, her voice soft but urgent. "I just need one day," she said. "I've never asked before." Mr. Harris didn't even look up from his paperwork at first. When he finally did, his expression was cold and impatient. "We're short-staffed," he replied. "You know the rules." Emma tried again, explaining how important this was, how she would return the next morning. She reminded him that she had worked every single day for 9 years without absence. She expected understanding, maybe even kindness. Instead, his words cut deeply. "If you walk out today, don't bother coming back." For a moment, Emma thought she had misunderstood. 9 years of loyalty suddenly felt meaningless. She stood frozen, hoping he would change his mind, but he simply turned away, signaling that the conversation was over. Tears filled her eyes, but she made her decision. Some things mattered more than a job. She removed her apron slowly, folded it neatly, and placed it on the counter. None of her co-workers spoke. They avoided eye contact, afraid of losing their own jobs. Emma walked out of the diner with shaking hands. The cold air hit her face as if reality itself had changed. She went straight to the hospital, spending hours in the waiting area, worrying and praying silently. By evening, doctors stabilized Mrs. Delgado, but Emma's relief was mixed with fear about her own future. When she returned home late that night, another shock waited for her. A notice was taped to her door. Her landlord had locked the apartment because rent was due the next morning, and without her job, he refused to give her extra time. Emma knocked repeatedly, but no one answered. Her small world collapsed in a single day. With nowhere else to go, Emma carried her bag through quiet streets. The city lights felt distant, and people passed by without noticing her tears. She finally sat on a wooden bench outside a closed shop, hugging her coat tightly as the temperature dropped. Cars moved past, laughter echoed from nearby restaurants, and life continued as if nothing had happened. Emma stared at the ground, wondering how 9 years of hard work could disappear so easily. She had done everything right, worked honestly, stayed loyal, never complained, yet she was alone, unemployed, and homeless. As the night grew colder, exhaustion overcame her fear. She rested her head against the bench, listening to the distant sounds of the city. Above her, streetlights flickered softly, casting long shadows around her tired figure. For the first time in years, Emma allowed herself to cry freely. Not just for losing her job, but for realizing how fragile life truly was. One decision, one moment, and everything could change. That night, under the silent winter sky, Emma fell asleep outside, unaware that this painful ending was quietly becoming the beginning of a completely different life. The night felt endless for Emma. The cold air wrapped around her like invisible ice, and every passing hour made the streets quieter and darker. She sat curled on the wooden bench, her small bag resting beside her feet, trying to stay awake because sleep felt dangerous outside. Streetlights flickered above her, and the distant sound of cars echoed through empty roads. She had never felt so alone in her life. Just that morning she had a job, a routine, and a place to sleep. Now she had nothing except uncertainty. Emma watched people walk past without noticing her. Some were laughing, others busy talking on their phones, all living their own lives. She didn't blame them. Everyone carried their own problems. Still, the feeling of being invisible hurt deeply. She kept thinking about the diner, the trays she had carried every day, and how easily she had been replaced. 9 years of loyalty had disappeared in a few seconds. The thought made her chest ache more than the cold. Around midnight, exhaustion finally forced her eyes to close for a moment. She leaned against the bench, shivering lightly. Suddenly, the soft sound of a car stopping nearby pulled her back to awareness. A long black car had parked at the side of the road. Its headlights dimmed, casting gentle light across the pavement. Emma lowered her gaze, assuming it belonged to someone important who would leave soon. She didn't want attention or trouble. The car door opened slowly and a tall man stepped out. He wore a dark coat that moved slightly in the winter wind. His posture was calm and confident, the kind that naturally made people step aside. His name was Daniel Russo, though Emma didn't know it yet. In the city, many people recognized him instantly, a powerful businessman with connections that people whispered about quietly. Some called him dangerous, others respected him deeply, but no one denied his influence. Daniel had been returning from a late business meeting when he noticed Emma sitting alone under the streetlight. At first he planned to ignore it. The city was full of struggling people, and he had learned long ago not to involve himself emotionally. But something about her stillness caught his attention. She wasn't begging or trying to get sympathy. She simply sat there quietly as if she had accepted her situation without complaint. He walked closer, his footsteps slow so he wouldn't scare her. Emma looked up nervously, unsure whether to feel afraid or relieved. She had learned to be cautious with strangers, especially at night. "Are you all right?" Daniel asked, his voice calm and surprisingly gentle. Emma hesitated before answering. She didn't want pity, but the honesty in his tone made lying feel unnecessary. She explained briefly that she had lost her job that day and had nowhere to go. She spoke simply, without drama, as if she were describing someone else's life instead of her own pain. Daniel listened quietly. He noticed how she never blamed anyone loudly or asked him for help. Even while sitting on a cold street, she kept her dignity. That surprised him more than anything. Most people he met either feared him or tried to gain something from him. Emma did neither. "Do you have family nearby?" he asked. She shook her head softly. "No. Just bad luck today." Her answer stayed in his mind. Bad luck. She didn't complain about injustice or anger. She accepted reality with quiet strength. Daniel felt something unfamiliar, concern mixed with curiosity. After a moment of silence, he said, "You shouldn't stay here tonight. It's too cold." He offered to arrange a hotel room nearby, assuring her she wouldn't owe him anything. Emma immediately refused. Life had taught her that kindness often came with hidden expectations. She thanked him politely and said she would manage. But as another cold wind passed through the street, her body trembled uncontrollably. Daniel noticed and spoke again, more gently this time. "It's only a safe place to sleep," he said. Nothing more. There was sincerity in his voice that made her pause. She studied his face carefully. He didn't look impatient or suspicious. He simply looked concerned. After a long moment, exhaustion defeated her fear and she agreed quietly. Daniel arranged everything quickly. Within minutes, she was sitting inside the warm car, feeling awkward and unsure. The heater's warmth felt unreal after hours in the cold. She stared out the window as city lights passed by, wondering why a stranger would help her without reason. They reached a small but comfortable hotel. Daniel spoke briefly with the receptionist and handed Emma a room key. He didn't ask personal questions or stay longer than necessary. "Get some rest," he said before leaving. "Tomorrow will feel different." Emma entered the room slowly, almost afraid the moment would disappear like a dream. The warmth, soft bed, and quiet space overwhelmed her. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding back tears. For the first time that day she felt safe. The next morning, sunlight entered through the curtains, waking her gently. For a few seconds she forgot everything that had happened. Then reality returned, but this time it didn't feel as hopeless. Outside her door she found a tray with breakfast and a small envelope. Inside was a simple handwritten note. Everyone deserves a second chance. Emma read the sentence again and again. No name, no explanation, just kindness. She didn't know who Daniel Russo truly was or why he had stopped for her that night. But for the first time since losing everything she felt something she thought was gone forever. Hope. She looked out the window at the busy city below, unaware that this unexpected meeting would soon change not only her future, but also the life of the man who had chosen to stop his car on a cold, ordinary night. Emma stood near the hotel window for a long time after reading the note. The words, "Everyone deserves a second chance," stayed in her mind like a quiet promise. For days she had felt lost, as if life had pushed her out without warning, but now something inside her slowly began to change. She didn't know who the man truly was or why he had helped her, yet his kindness felt real. After finishing breakfast, she carefully folded the note and placed it inside her bag, deciding to keep it as a reminder that not all strangers were unkind. Later that morning, the hotel receptionist informed her that someone had arranged a meeting for her at a nearby cafe regarding a possible job opportunity. Emma felt surprised and nervous at the same time. She had not expected more help. Part of her worried that accepting it would make her dependent, but another part reminded her that she needed to stand up again somehow. With hope mixed with uncertainty, she walked to the address written on the paper. The cafe was small but beautiful, filled with warm light, soft music, and the smell of fresh bread. Unlike the noisy diner where she had worked before, this place felt peaceful. Employees greeted each other politely, and customers sat comfortably instead of rushing. Emma immediately noticed the difference. People here smiled naturally, not out of obligation. As she stepped inside, she saw Daniel sitting at a corner table. For a moment she froze, surprised to see him again. He stood up politely, greeting her as if they were equals rather than strangers from different worlds. Emma thanked him sincerely for helping her the night before, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. Daniel explained that the cafe was one of his legal businesses and that they needed reliable staff. He had noticed her honesty and dedication and believed she deserved an opportunity. Emma listened carefully, still unsure why he trusted her so quickly. She had always been invisible to employers before. Now someone was offering her respect without long interviews or suspicion. She accepted the job, promising herself she would work hard and prove she was worthy of the chance. From her first day, she noticed how different this environment was from her past experiences. The manager treated employees kindly, schedules were fair, and breaks were allowed. At first, Emma almost felt uncomfortable resting because she was used to constant pressure. Slowly, she realized that healthy workplaces actually existed. Her coworkers welcomed her warmly. Instead of competition, there was teamwork. They laughed during quiet moments and supported each other during busy hours. Emma began to smile more naturally, and customers noticed her gentle personality. Many returned just to be served by her because she listened carefully and treated everyone with kindness. Daniel visited the cafe occasionally, never acting superior. He spoke respectfully with staff and asked about their lives. Emma started seeing another side of him, not the powerful figure people whispered about, but a thoughtful man who observed everything quietly. Rumors about his influence reached her ears through co-workers, and she slowly understood that he was far more important than she had first imagined. Yet he never used power to impress her. Their conversations grew longer over time. During quiet evenings they talked about life, struggles, and dreams. Emma told him about her childhood and how she once wanted to become a baker. She described how she loved the smell of fresh pastries and how baking made her feel peaceful. Daniel listened carefully, asking questions as if her dreams truly mattered. Daniel in return shared parts of his own life, though carefully. He spoke about growing up in a harsh environment where survival required strength and difficult choices. Power had brought him wealth but also loneliness. People respected him but few trusted him honestly. Emma realized that despite his confidence, he carried a heavy emotional burden. What surprised Daniel most was Emma's ability to speak to him without fear. She didn't treat him like a powerful man or judge him based on rumors. She simply spoke to him as a human being. Her honesty felt refreshing in a world filled with hidden motives. Weeks passed and Emma's life slowly stabilized. She rented a small room again, this time without fear of losing it overnight. She saved money carefully and regained confidence in herself. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a better future. One evening after closing time, Emma stayed behind to help clean the cafe. Daniel happened to arrive, and they shared a quiet conversation over coffee. The cafe lights reflected softly around them, creating a peaceful atmosphere. Daniel admitted something he rarely said aloud. "People usually want something from me," he said quietly. "Money, protection, influence. You never asked for anything." Emma smiled gently. "You helped me when I had nothing. That was already more than enough." Her simple words affected him deeply. He realized that her gratitude was genuine, not calculated. Around her, he felt calm, a feeling he had almost forgotten existed. Their friendship grew naturally, without pressure or expectation. They began taking short walks after work, talking about ordinary things like favorite foods, childhood memories, and future hopes. Emma helped Daniel see beauty in small moments, while Daniel encouraged Emma to believe she deserved happiness. For Emma, Daniel represented safety and encouragement. For Daniel, Emma represented honesty and peace. Neither of them planned for their bond to deepen, yet slowly and quietly, their lives became connected. As Emma locked the cafe one evening and walked home under the warm glow of streetlights, she realized something important. The world that once felt cruel had begun to open new doors for her. The painful night she spent outside now felt like a distant memory, replaced by new opportunities and unexpected companionship. She didn't know what the future held, but she sensed that meeting Daniel had changed both their paths forever. What started as kindness between strangers was slowly turning into something stronger, something neither of them fully understood yet, but both were beginning to value deeply. Life continued to change quietly for Emma, almost in ways she could not fully understand. Months passed since the cold night when she had slept on the street, and her world now looked completely different. She had a stable job at the cafe, a small but comfortable apartment, and something she had not felt in years: peace. Every morning she woke up without fear, and every evening she returned home feeling proud of her work. Yet the biggest change in her life was not the job or the apartment. It was Daniel. Their friendship had grown naturally over time. They spent hours talking after work, sometimes walking through quiet streets or sitting in small restaurants where nobody recognized him. With Emma, Daniel did not need to act powerful or guarded. He could laugh freely, share memories, and speak honestly about his thoughts. Emma noticed how different he became when he was relaxed. The serious businessman others feared disappeared, replaced by a thoughtful man who enjoyed simple moments. Emma also began to understand that Daniel's life was far from ordinary. People treated him with deep respect wherever he went. Some avoided eye contact, while others greeted him carefully. She slowly realized that his influence was larger than she had imagined. Rumors about his past and connections reached her from different people, and at first, the knowledge frightened her. She worried that his world might be dangerous or complicated. One evening, Daniel sensed her concern and decided to speak openly. They sat in the cafe after closing time, the lights dim and the city quiet outside. He explained that his life had been shaped by difficult choices and responsibilities he could not easily leave behind. He admitted that his reputation was not perfect and that many people misunderstood him. However, he also told her that meeting her had made him question the life he had been living. "For the first time," he said softly, "I want something simple and real." Emma listened carefully. She appreciated his honesty more than perfect words. She realized that despite his power, Daniel carried loneliness that few people saw. Instead of judging him, she focused on the kindness he had shown her from the very beginning, helping her without expecting anything in return. Their bond deepened slowly, built on trust rather than excitement. Daniel supported Emma's dream of learning baking professionally. He encouraged her to attend weekend classes and helped her gain confidence in her skills. Emma worked hard, practicing recipes late at night, determined to build something of her own. She wanted success through effort, not charity, and Daniel respected that deeply. As time passed, Daniel found himself imagining a future he had never considered before: a quiet home, shared meals, and a life not controlled by constant pressure. Emma brought balance into his world, reminding him that happiness could exist outside power and business. One calm evening, Daniel invited Emma to a small garden restaurant overlooking the city lights. The atmosphere was peaceful, filled with soft music and warm lanterns. Emma thought it was just another dinner, but Daniel seemed unusually nervous. After a long conversation about their journey and how far they had come, he looked at her seriously. "I have lived many years surrounded by people," he said, "but I was always alone. You changed that. With you, I feel like I finally have a home." Emma's heart beat faster as she listened. Daniel took a deep breath and continued, "My life is not simple and I cannot promise perfection. But I want to build something honest with you. Will you marry me?" For a moment, Emma could not speak. Memories of her past rushed through her mind. The diner, the cold bench, the night she believed her life was over. She never imagined standing in such a moment. She thought carefully, not because she doubted him, but because she understood the seriousness of the decision. She realized that Daniel had never tried to control her or change who she was. He had simply supported her growth and respected her independence. That trust gave her courage. With tears in her eyes, she smiled and said yes. News of their engagement spread quickly and reactions were immediate. Many people were shocked that a powerful and wealthy man chose to marry a former waitress with a simple background. Business partners questioned his decision, social circles whispered, and some even believed the relationship would not last. Society often judged people based on status, and their story did not fit expectations. But Daniel ignored the opinions. For him, Emma represented truth, loyalty, and peace, qualities he valued more than wealth or reputation. Emma, too, learned to ignore judgment. She understood that happiness did not depend on others' approval. Their wedding was intentionally small and private. Instead of a grand event filled with strangers, they invited only a few people who truly cared about them. Emma wore a simple white dress, elegant but modest, reflecting her personality. Daniel looked calmer than anyone had ever seen him. During the ceremony, they exchanged promises not about luxury or power, but about respect, honesty, and standing beside each other through every challenge. After marriage, Emma finally opened her own bakery with Daniel's encouragement, but she managed it independently. She hired workers who needed second chances. Single parents, struggling students, and people who had once been overlooked just like her. The bakery quickly became popular, not only because of delicious food but because of the warmth people felt inside. Sometimes Emma passed by the old diner where she had worked for 9 years. She no longer felt anger toward the past. Instead, she felt gratitude. Losing that job had seemed like the end of her world, yet it had guided her toward a life she never imagined possible. Emma often remembered the cold night when everything broke apart. She now understood that some endings arrive not to destroy us but to redirect our path. The girl who once slept outside under streetlights had become a confident woman building her own future. And as people continued to talk about the unexpected marriage that once shocked everyone, Emma and Daniel quietly lived a life built not on power or luck, but on kindness, trust, and the courage to see value in someone when the world failed to do so.